accepts you fully. Accepts you fully. Okay, we see it. We are aware of it. This is good. I can love even through this. I can have love. Even in this darkness, I can love fully. All of this exists because of love. None of this could even be here without love. Because love empowers everything and allows it to exist to begin with. So it is okay. It is all okay. The smell of decay. There's love even in this. There's such an intelligence here. Don't you see the intelligence that is here with us?
So believe it or not, the person in that audio recording is me. That's just a moment out of a whole hour's worth of audio footage from that experience. I'll play more of shortly. But you're gonna wanna watch this full video for context, otherwise it won't make much sense. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get into it. During one of the biggest mushroom trips of my life, it seems like I was possessed by a handful of entities or spirit guides. I'm still not quite sure if I'm being honest. But one of them, as you heard, was the embodiment of darkness, which sounds like an evil monster, essentially. But what's interesting is, at no point did I ever feel like there was any malicious intent. I felt a sense of peace and oneness the whole time as I came face to face with this darkness that manifested. Before I go any further, I just want to say that the power of psychedelics is not to be taken lightly. This video is for educational purposes only and to share an experience I had that changed my life forever. But it gets pretty weird, as you'll hear later in the video. Some of the spiritual entities, or whatever you want to call them, that are speaking through me have like an Australian or British accent, and at times get very emotional and dramatic, but then later explain that it's doing that on purpose to get my attention. There were 3 or 4 different personas that came to the surface. One of them, like you heard, sounds like a straight up evil, terrifying demon. One of them was more goofy, kind of like a jester or a joker of some kind. One of them is more calm and introspective, and then the other one was almost like the embodiment of feminine lust, if I had to describe it. I wasn't originally planning on sharing this experience with the public because I concluded it was probably best just to keep this bizarre experience to myself. But after reflecting and integrating the experience for about a year now, I figured that sharing one of the most profound experiences that I ever had in my life was worth doing. So I'm going to attempt to unpack as much of this as I can, and I'll also play more extended parts of the audio, so stick around for that. So after this happened, I was pretty frustrated that after searching the whole internet, I pretty much couldn't find anyone else who had had a similar experience from psychedelics. So at the very least, maybe this will start a conversation that could help somebody else. And I'm sure it'll be pretty entertaining too, because I've never seen anything like this. Most of this video will be through a spiritual lens, but I also think that some of these things could absolutely have a logical explanation as well. So I'm going to try to dive into both perspectives. I'm also going to share how I went about experimenting with psilocybin and the methodology that I used to be intentional about going deep for therapeutic reasons, as opposed to just trying to have a random recreational experience. In the period that I've spent processing everything, I've only shared these audio clips with one other person, and that's my cousin Carrie. He's like a brother to me, and he's a deeply spiritual person. We've both been through similar loss of parents when we were in our teens, and we've always had a special bond. I called him before I started making this video because I honestly felt anxious about sharing any of this. Yo, dude. The crazy mushroom trip thing where I was like essentially possessed. Yeah. The whole channeling experience or demon, whatever the heck that was. I woke up the other night and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Thinking about sharing that experience on YouTube.
Wild, okay.
Almost like a trip report, and maybe just to like educate people a little bit. Because as weird as that experience was, and the fact that I still don't fully understand it, Like, it changed my life.
Yeah.
I would not have come to terms with a lot of internal darkness if it wasn't for that experience. I probably wouldn't have started the YouTube channel in general, which, like, tons of emails every day from people since I started that channel. If you wanted to talk me off the ledge and be like, dude, don't do it, what do you think?
Well, I think, man, I think that's I don't know. I got excited when you said that. Sounds like a good idea. It's huge for you because people that know you from a past life, from a different version of you, from when you were growing up, and that are just probably going to see it.
I'm excited because the conversations that it could start, there's the darkness aspect of it where I sound like a fucking demon. I still don't know fully how to make sense of that. If it's actually a spiritual thing or if it was just like a dark crevice of my ego or shadow like coming to the surface. I know people are going to think I'm like faking, like acting in it or something. They're like, oh, this is bullshit.
There's things you can't fake, and people that are following and people that know you are going to know that you're not faking. There's always going to be that side with everything. But yeah, there's a lot to think about. I'm sure that you've been going back and forth within your mind about how you're going to be perceived and what you're even going to say.
I have explored the internet trying to find other experiences like that, and I haven't found any. Especially on like a psychedelic, like a mushroom trip. You're like the only person I've shared any of that stuff with, so I just thought I would just get your 2 cents.
I remember when we were first talking about it.
Yeah.
You were like this is just going to be between you and I. So the fact that, to me, the fact that it's on your heart to share it,
yeah,
I feel like that says a lot. I don't think you would just think that, you know what I'm saying? And that's coming from somewhere, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure. I'm definitely embracing the vulnerability thing more recently because I think that's the only way to really like help people,
Oh, but, bro, 100%.
Anyway, that's it, man. Now to start, here's a little story about how I found my way to psychedelics and this whole experience. I had always been curious about mushrooms, and for a whole year after my divorce, it just kept popping up in my mind. There were so many wounds and pockets of grief that just kept coming to the surface for me. And around that same time, I got really into Terence McKenna's lectures. He was one of the first intellectuals and philosophers I found that didn't necessarily glorify psychedelics, but positioned them as a useful tool if used properly. He didn't seem like this mindless hippie, but clearly had a lot of self-awareness and intellect, and a balance between spirituality and science. It just really appealed to me. I had pretty much let go or surrendered the idea of obtaining mushrooms because it's illegal here in the United States. But then randomly one night I was performing at a venue here in the city that I live in, and backstage someone had brought up the therapeutic effects of mushrooms, and we just began having a conversation. And then out of nowhere, one of the employees that was apparently in the background just sweeping the floor overheard the conversation and interjected. It felt like something out of a movie, like this random new character comes out of nowhere. Started talking about how mushrooms helped him with his addictions to alcohol, pornography, cigarettes, and basically quit all of those things after he had a few mushroom experiences. He told me that if I'd like to get a hold of some, he could help me. So we exchanged contacts. It felt like a very synchronistic moment because at this point, I was not trying to get a hold of mushrooms in any way. I was just going about my life. Several months went by, and I finally decided to reach out. I went down the path of self-research and self-experimentation, thus began my journey, and I went all in. I did a total of 6 trips in 6 months, gradually increasing the dose with every trip, and each trip was about a month apart. The first trip I did was just 2.5 grams, and the final trip that I did was 8.5 grams. The audio that you heard in the beginning of this video was from that 8.5 gram trip, and I also soaked it in lemon. The acidity of the lemon is supposed to increase the potency of the psilocybin. Again, I am in no way recommending that you do this, just like someone who climbs to the peak of a mountain and parachutes off the top alone by themselves would not recommend that you do the same thing. It was reckless, it was crazy, but that's just the place that I was at during that season. I did 5 out of 6 of these trips alone, in total darkness, blindfolded, laying down on my couch. And I meticulously weighed and measured out every dose that I took. The first 2.5 gram trip was the only one that I didn't do blindfolded in total darkness. For that one, I just wandered around my house until I made eye contact with myself in the mirror. I then went on to have a 5-hour conversation with myself. There's a key moment here that I need to mention. While I was talking to myself in the mirror for 5 hours, there were hints of these entities coming to the surface, but they didn't take over my consciousness. Just my face and my voice were like on this loop, this 5-second loop of cycling through these different personalities. It would go from goofy to serious to dark and evil. I even called my cousin at one point, and on the phone he could literally hear my voice changing every 5 seconds to match these different personalities that were coming to the surface. I had no control over the change in my voice or my face. Now looking back, it was almost like a foreshadowing to that final trip that I would take. Another trip worth mentioning, I basically bawled on the floor for 4 hours. It was like I was grieving every loss I had ever experienced throughout the last 2 decades of my life. All of the things that I never allowed myself to feel. It made me aware of how much grief and pain and even anger I had stored in my body that I had never felt, healed, or integrated. The last part of that trip, a higher part of my consciousness started singing through me at the top of my lungs like Freddie Mercury, hitting notes I had never hit in my life. It's like it was showing me what my voice was capable of in the realm of singing, which is a lot of the work that I do for a living. Singing, songwriting, music production, it's a big part of my work and my life's purpose. To summarize the rest of the trips, it was mostly just the feeling of oneness and connectedness to all of humanity and the universe. Seeing that we live, our consciousness manifests into these bodies, learn what our soul needs to learn, and then we move on, and it's okay. I honestly don't think I ever would have started this YouTube channel if I had never experienced that intense feeling of oneness. Because without it, I just don't know if I ever would have gotten completely in touch with a genuine desire to help other people. I was too deep in the fear of trying to figure out my own stuff that the idea of contributing to the whole of humanity just seemed kind of pointless at the time. Now, during the biggest trip, I had an ego death experience. I saw visuals of the deepest darkness that lived within me. I saw it very clearly. It was a creature that looked a bit like the alien from Predator, but a lot more grotesque and terrifying. It was holding on for dear life and then eventually suffocated and died. While it was dying, there was this higher part of me that was strangely trying to comfort this darkness as it passed away. And this darkness was afraid. I could feel its fear, its anger, its sadness, all of it. That higher voice was simultaneously speaking through me, and it was talking to the darkness. It was saying, "It's okay, buddy. It's okay to let go. Let yourself die. It's okay." It sounded like this. There was both this dark and light inside of me, and the light was compassionately trying to convince the darkness to allow itself to die. And I felt this sense of grief and sadness and loss as all of this was happening. Once it died and I emerged from it, that's when all the channeling stuff started happening, and these personalities took control and just started speaking for an hour straight. And a lot of it was pretty obnoxious.
Look at all these characters that we are playing here in the dark. All of these characters that we are playing. What is any of it? Is it okay? It's all a facade. None of it is real, and there's comfort in all of this. Just know that it's not real. Have fun. Enjoy your life. Oh my goodness. Enjoy your life. Love each other hinged. Love each other like there is no tomorrow, 'cause there is no tomorrow. Just love. Deeply, just love with reckless abandon and honesty and genuine power. Just love. That's what all of this is. I'm not sure why you have an accent right now or what character this is, but it is truly, truly genuine. It's not an act. I mean, everything is an act, technically, but the love beneath this is real. Oh, the love beneath this, it created everything you see and hear and love and understand. That's where this came from. It loves you. It wants what's best for you. This is just a mouthpiece. It doesn't matter the accent. It doesn't matter what piece of you it's speaking through. It loves you. It is here. It is real. And it is undeniably you and me and everything. And I'm giving you a piece of this right now to take back with you because I love you. I know that you need this, Ryan. I know that you need a piece of insight and understanding and depth, Ryan. I know you need this, so I've taken over your body and I'm controlling all of this right now to tell you I love you. I love you. I love you on the deepest levels of infinity. I love you. I love you. We're looking at all sides of you. There is a light shining on every part of you, and we accept all of you, and we fucking love you. And you're meant to be here, all of you. You're meant to be here. Do you hear me? Just embrace who you are. Fully embrace who you are. It is okay to be who you are. This is a message for you. I know that this is what you've been wanting. This is what you've needed. So you're bringing this back. All sides are talking to you right now. And we're telling you to just embrace all of it. Embrace the here and now. Embrace the times you're gonna be afraid. You're going to heal. You're going to love. There's so many things in mystery that you do not understand, and it's okay. You don't even understand this message that's coming through. Who's speaking to you now? It doesn't matter. Just know that it's love. Just know that it's love, and it sees you. And it wants what's best for you, and it doesn't judge you at all. It just accepts every part of you. Your dreams, the child within you. You're healing. You're healing. You're gonna do so much to impact this planet. And we're the vehicle. We're doing this together, all of us. We're doing it through you, and we're gonna guide you. We created everything, don't you understand? We created the sky, the universe, the birds, every insect, every animal, every kind of person, every tendency. It is creation, it is us. You are I, and I am you, and we love you. There's no shame in any of it. We want you to live. We want you to see. We want you to love. We want you to be conscious, be aware of all of it. And we'll guide you, and it's okay. It truly is okay. That's all we have to tell you, buddy. And I know it took something kind of dramatic to get this to you, but beneath all the antics, all the drama, all of this craziness, it's just you. And we see you, and we love you. We're in everything. God. We are God. God is beautiful. He's in the smell. He's in the decay of darkness. He's in the beauty of light and understanding and all of it. And you can see it. This is all a reminder to you, buddy.
I don't talk like that. I'm not a professional actor. All of these things were just happening. A crazy little detail is during this, I could actually smell the stench of decay, as if my ego's corpse had been rotting on my living room floor for days. What's also interesting is there was a moment where these entities that were being channeled almost sounded confused as to what was happening. And it's like it took them a few minutes to realize that they had taken over my consciousness completely. And they were having like a conversation amongst themselves, trying to figure out what to do.
I do not know what any of this is. I don't know what any of this is. What is this reality? I don't know. Who are you? I don't think it matters, really. Here we are. Here we are in the dark. Oh, what is any of this? Are we having an identity crisis? Possibly. We could be having an identity crisis. In the dark. But we've taken over your body. You're trying to do this correctly. Here we are taking over your body. And maybe we just need to let all of this happen. Maybe this is you healing yourself. I don't know. We've taken over everything. Your consciousness, we've been in this place before, but now we're embracing all of it. We're embracing all of it. I think we have your best interest at heart. I do.
Now, I didn't necessarily black out during this experience, but it was almost like I was an audience member in the background watching these personalities converse with each other. My base awareness was underlying the whole time. It was almost like I was split in two. But I was also so taken back by how profound all of it was that I was weirdly okay with it. Like whatever was happening was for my own good, and I had a sense of peace and surrender the whole time. Just taking a back seat and just observing everything. Here's the craziest part about this whole experience. Towards the end, these spirit guides or entities started telling me very detailed aspects about my future. Things that are way too personal for me to share on here. Like how many children I'm going to have. Very key specific people that I'm going to meet and their names. Specific aspects about my career and purpose. Things so detailed and personal that I honestly don't know what to make of it. I've always been more on the doubting Thomas side of things, so I usually need a degree of evidence as opposed to just believing something out of blind faith. So I have a very wait and see outlook when it comes to this stuff, but it was pretty convincing. And if some of those specific things do happen, I'm glad that I have time time-stamped audio evidence of it. It would be pretty fucking crazy if some of these things actually happened, and I'll keep you posted on it. At the end of the day, what I learned from these experiences is the importance of going within. And you don't necessarily need psychedelics to do this. Practices like deep meditation and journaling and even forms of therapy can uncover a lot of things in your subconscious that you've never known was there. These experiences have shown me that there's so many things that we don't understand, so many answers that we don't have, whether having to do with spirituality or just the subconscious mind in general. I tend to believe, as the person who experienced this firsthand, that this was in fact a spiritual channeling experience. But I certainly don't have all the answers by any means. Could science maybe explain this away as a phenomenon of the physical brain? It's very possible, and I'm open to that. From a more logical and less of a spiritual standpoint, it's possible that the voices or characters that came to the surface are just different parts, different sides of my consciousness that are buried that I didn't know were there. I've reflected a lot on the idea of the shadow and shadow work that Carl Jung used to talk about. But I always just viewed those archetypes as metaphors, not as a literal thing that would come to the surface in my living room, like unfamiliar characters I'd never met before. Because the personalities of these entities that came to the surface are so vastly different than what my personality is, it's just hard to say. Maybe it was a trigger for like a split personality disorder that I didn't know that I had. All I know is that I have a lot more vision and clarity since that whole experience happened. When I look back on the version of myself who was taking these psychedelics and seeking answers, I have a degree of love and compassion for that person, because I know firsthand that the motivations were purely and genuinely to know myself, God, source, the divine on a deeper level. I'm not suggesting that you do psychedelics, but I would encourage you to start developing practices like meditation, journaling, prayer, because you never know what you might uncover. You are loved, you matter, and you've barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. If you got something out of this, then consider subscribing, watch this video right now, and I'll talk to you later.